So what is the IAB hearing from its publishers about guaranteeing VCR or OCE today?
We hear a lot of mixed things, and I'd like to talk about facts, because we started with taking a stand on what's noise and what's signal. The fact is that the industry just last week had a kickoff meeting with the MRC to write the standards for digital GRPs. That doesn't mean that the products that are out there are not okay. What it means is that now that everyone is agreeing that GRPs are an important part of the buying and selling process, we need to have a consistent standard for how those products should be built and how they should be transparent and accountable to the industry, to the MRC. So until such time as we get through that process, it's going to be pretty hard to know how this is all working. And we know the market tends to go ahead of a lot of these processes that are intricate and that are time consuming. I have heard of some of the challenges for publishers. And as a person who works at the IAB, of course it's painful for me to hear it, because I would have liked for change not to be painful. And I would have liked for all of this to be much easier to do. And the publishers are, at this juncture, bearing tremendous costs. And some publishers are not big enough, for example, to test. You asked me about disparities in data across different measurements. And of course, if they're all audited and accredited by the MRC and there are disparities, there's pain out there. What I can say about that particular part of the question, which was not specifically related to the GRP piece, but more to the measurement of viewability, is that there was guidance put forth by MRC. There was a wonderful collective effort that many of the vendors participated in, where the MRC looked at what are the causes of disparities across measurements, came up with recommendations for what vendors should be doing to put that within a tolerable range. So the range that everyone is shooting for is plus or minus 10%, 5 to 10%. And that's an accepted range in media.
That smells like ad server, third-party deltas for 16 years, right? And,
and
within,
comfortable.
Within T's and C's that you can at least, get cozy with. And then if there are outliers, then you need to have a chat, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
But we don't know exactly how the T's and C's part is going to work, because we have to assemble some teams of people and work on that. The hope and the intent is that it not be onerous, that every publisher not have to guarantee on every vendor's data.
Makes sense. Thank you for helping me decouple that and answering both sides of that question. Let's turn to our fellow panel member here, Mr. Josh Chasen, who runs the show on research at ComScore. Probably has a couple of either follow-ups or weigh-ins, and we'll get you in the higher chair here in a little bit. But any questions directly here for Ms. Cheryl?
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot, because see, one of the problems with Cheryl and I is that we may not make for the most exciting panel because we're both very opinionated, but we mostly agree on stuff.
We'll fix that.
So,
we'll find
we'll
find something.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a bad mouther here in 5 minutes. No worries.
We'll cause a brawl shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look, Matt. You and I spoke, and you copped my big question and asked it, Cheryl, which was, when does the good part start? We know that, the 3MS, which was the initiative. So Cheryl said that 3MS is a tripartite initiative, and it absolutely is a tripartite initiative. But don't kid yourself, it was Cheryl's vision and drive that made it happen. And I remember when Cheryl was talking about it before it was 3MS. The idea of 3MS all along was simplify research and measurement and digital, make it as simple to deal with as TV, and more money will flow into TV. And then there was a consulting group called Bain, which was brought in. Bain was brought in and did a thorough piece of diligence and concluded that as Cheryl said, that the unit of currency in digital should be the viewable impression. There's been a lot of let's say, anguish around the change, but you know what, there's always anguish around change. I used to work with somebody who said, you break a few eggs in a revolution. So I guess I'm going to ask the same question you asked in a different fashion, which is, when's it going to get good? When's the when do you think we'll be through the hump and publishers will start to be reaping the benefits of increased demand for digital?
It's a hard question to answer. You've been in the room during at least the first 3MS educational forum where you actually commented to me afterwards, I didn't realize how hard it was, how much pain there is out there. My guess, having unfortunately being old enough to having been through a number of cycles of measurement change in media, including when television and cable moved to people meters, it's probably a year or two. So within a year, there will be winners and losers. Probably in the second year, there will be clear trends of how to win and lose. But it doesn't happen overnight. It's very, very difficult, as we've been hearing on the implementation side, and there's more to come. So we don't even know yet, like what's going to happen during the process of writing a standard for GRPs, how the market's going to react. We do know that to a large degree, the products that are out there are good at some parts of the GRP process, and they're not as good at some of the others, and there are certain things that still have to be tweaked. And that's part of the standards writing process that we're all going to go through.
And let me say, I think that's a great message, because it's important, I think, for all the constituencies in the industry to understand that lifting the viewable impressions advisory doesn't mean the next day there'll be rainbows with pots of gold at the end and angels singing. There is a process, and we need to get through that process together. Again, I agree.
This is meant to be much more fisticuffs, but good stuff. Well done. No, I think a lot of great content there, and good to see where both sides are. And let's turn it over to Josh here and get his perspective as well. Cheryl, thank you.